رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد. Then we continue with the book. One second. الملخص الفقهي من علوم إمام الألباني من علوم الإمام الألباني رحمه الله تعالى. The summarized fiqh from the works of the Sheikh, the Imam al-Albani. And we are still in the book of Taharah. And inshallah ta'ala, we should finish it and move on to the book of Salah, Kitab al-Salat today. So the link is in the chat for those who want to come in and join and participate. MashaAllah. Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. Abba Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. For some reason, we're not hearing anything. Okay. Masao. Assalamu alaikum, Masao.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله أستاذ، كيف أنتم؟
الحمد لله، جزاك الله خير. كيف حالك أنت؟
الحمد لله، جزاك الله خير. Okay.
مصطفى. السلام عليكم. طيب. Everybody's joining. Nobody's talking. طيب. السلام عليكم. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الحمد لله يسبقنا. كيف حالك؟
الحمد لله. نحمد الله إليكم. كيف حالك أنت؟ كيف الأهل؟
الحمد لله كل شيء تمام. بارك الله فيكم.
فيكم بارك. طيب. Yesterday we talked, and we're still talking about Taharah. Yesterday we talked about some nice things, man. We talked about the waqid al-wudu, and we talked about masah, wiping. We talked about the how is the ghusl, and when is it sunnah to make the ghusl, and when is it wajib to make the ghusl, right? And we talked about menstruation, and that's where we stopped. You ready to read, Abu Muhammad?
نعم.
تفضل.
بسم الله. يحرم وطء الحائض في فرج. Yeah. So it's I don't know what is okay.
What is intercourse?
Okay. So it's forbidden to have intercourse with the menstruating woman in her place, in her right place. ويباه التمتع بها فيما سوى ذلك باستثناء الدبر. And it's permissible to enjoy in other than that place of copulation, except for the back passage.
No.
ومن أتى حائدا فعليه كفارة. So whoever does approach and have relations with a female that is menstruating, then upon him is to give a kafara, make an expiation. فيتصدق بدينار أو نصف دينار. So he's supposed to give in charity a dinar or half of a dinar. ويحرم إتيانها إلا بعد اغتسالها. And it's forbidden for him to approach her except after her having the bath.
No. So yahrumu wat'ul ha'id, it's prohibited to have intercourse with the menstruating woman fil farj, in her private area, within her vagina. Wa yubahu at-tamattu'u, and it's permissible to enjoy biha, her, fima sawa dhalik, to enjoy her in anything else other than the vagina, the private part. Istithna ad-dubur, except from the backside, except from in the to have anal intercourse. وَمَنْ أَتَى حَائِدًا, and whoever comes to or approaches the menstruating woman, meaning to actually have intercourse in the farj, فَعَلَيْهِ كَفَّارَةٌ, so then he has to pay, or he has to give an expiation. فَيَتَّصَدَّقُ بِدِينَارٍ أو نِصْفِ dinar, then he pays, he gives charity with a dinar or half a dinar. And here the person has a choice, right? So most people who would follow this probably just say, I'm going to give half a dinar. A dinar is what's equal today to around 250 US dollars, 245, 250 US dollars. So a person approaches his wife, he can't control himself. He has to give away $250 in charity, or half of that. وَيَحْرُمُ إِتْيَانُهَا إِلَّا بَعْدَ اغْتِسَالِهَا, and it's prohibited to come to her, meaning to have sex with her and intercourse with her in the vagina, except after her bathing, except after she bathed. Just because her menstrual cycle stopped and she has not taken a bath yet, just because the menstrual cycle stopped does not mean it's permissible now to have relations with her. No, you have to wait until she takes a bath. The menstrual cycle stopping is not sufficient. So this section would be considered hukm wat al-ha'id, right? Al-hayyid, if the plural, wat al-ha'id, the hukm of intercourse with the menstruating woman. Fasl Sabi Ashar, Abba Muhammad, the 17th section.
Now, yubahu mu'akalatu al-ha'idi. Again, I don't know, mu'akal.
Mu'akala from akala.
To eat.
Yeah, and here we have the aleph in there before that, that extra aleph, mu'akala. Here showing that this is from form 6. This has to do with sharing a table with, eating along with, right?
Okay.
This is in opposition to the Jews. The Jews believe that when a woman becomes on her cycle, you can't even eat with them, right?
Yeah.
So
ولا
yubah al-mu'akalatu al-ha'idi, it's permissible to eat or share food with a menstruating woman. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there's the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha, in which she said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to put his mouth on the place where I ate from, and take and put his and drink from the place where I drank from. So wherever she put her mouth on the cup, he would turn the cup towards him and put his mouth on the same place. Likewise, if she ate from a piece of meat, he would turn and grab that piece of meat and eat from the same place where she put her mouth. And in some of those narrations, it said, "Oh, ana ha'id," and I was on my menstrual cycle. So this shows it's permissible to eat and drink with the menstruating woman. تفضل.
ولا تصلي الحائض ولا تصوم. So the menstruating woman does not pray and does not fast. وتقضي الصوم دون الصلاة, and she makes up for the missed fast and not the prayer. ولا تطوف في البيت, and she does not circumambulate or make tawaf in the masjid al-haram. ويباه للحائض أن تدخل المسجد and it also is permissible for the menstruating woman to enter the masjid والمكث فيه, and to remain in the masjid. وتحضر مصلى العيد وتعتزل الصلاة, and to attend the musalla, the outside prayer area, for the occasion of Eid, but and while keeping away from the salah.
No. So we know that the menstruating woman, she does not pray nor does she fast. She makes up for the fast, but she doesn't make up the salat, and she's not able to make tawaf around the house. And here the sheikh, he brings and he says that it's permissible for the menstruating woman to enter into the masjid and to remain in there. And to remain in there. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up what he says in the Thamr al-Mustatab, which is to enter into the masjid. And I believe the speech is very close to one another. Aisha radiallahu anha, let me see. I believe, give me 1 second. The other one is in Tamam al-Minna. 1 second. Tamam al-Minna. I have it in a different app. If I'm not mistaken, the Sheikh, he brings who else from the ulama in the past allowed this and the reason for it. And that's what I'm trying to find. Yeah, he says that our statement in this is just like the statement of touching the mushaf, right? Touching the Quran by the sexually impure person, because the believer never becomes impure, and the impurity of the menstruating woman is not in her hand, is in the hadith of Aisha. And Imam Ahmed and al-Muzani allowed the woman, the menstruating woman, to remain in the masjid. And Ahmed graded the hadith prohibiting the woman from entering the masjid during her menstruation to be weak. And there are two narrations from two different wives of the Prophet ﷺ, but the Sheikh goes on to say they're really just one narration. And the person who narrated it sometimes said this one and sometimes said that one. And they're really the same hadith. And the hadith itself is weak. And there are others who allowed it, such as Ibn Taymiyyah and other than them, for the woman to remain in the masjid. And of course, for a need, if she has a need. If we think about it, then there was the woman who used to take care of the masjid, the black woman who used to have seizures, and she used to live in the masjid and take care of the masjid. A woman lived in a masjid, you know, unless we say that this woman had already reached menopause and no longer had her cycle, then this woman was living in the masjid and she was having her cycle. Of course, she should stay away from the salat. She should not join the rows of the prayer. However, it's permissible for her to enter into the masjid, and this is the opinion of Shaykh al-Albani as well as Ahmed, al-Muzani, and others. And it's permissible for her to attend the Salat al-Eid. In fact, some say it's wajib, and she stays away from the Salat. طيب. الفصل الثامن عشر, the 18th section. That section, we'll call it ماذا يباح للحائض, what is permissible for the menstruating woman, something like that, inshallah. تفضل.
المستحاضة تصلي وتصوم وتتودع لكل صلاة. So the woman who has infrequent, is it like blood flow?
Mustahada is the I'm trying to think of the word in English. It's basically the blood that comes outside of the normal period time.
Yeah,
I don't know the
yeah,
not normal blood. I don't know. I can't think of it right
yeah,
now what the English word is.
yeah. Irregular period or irregular
Yeah,
blood.
irregular blood. Yeah, the
Yeah,
woman who's bleeding irregularly.
yeah. So she can pray and fast, and she makes wudu for every salah.
No,
ويسن أن تغتسل لكل صلاة. And it's a sunnah that she bathes for every salah. It's ghusl for every
no.
salah.
So she can just make wudu. It's permissible for her to do so. However, it's the sunnah to take a bath for every salat. Now, this is for the woman who this is al mustahada. That's ahkam al mustahada or something like that, right? النفاس الفصل التاسع عشر dealing with postpartum bleeding. تفضل.
نعم. النفاس لا حد لأقله. So as for postpartum bleeding, there's no lower limit.
نعم.
Lower limit. Yeah. وأكثره 40 يوما. And the upper limit or the is 40 days. ولا
نعم.
تصوم ولا تصلي. So she will not pray, fast or pray. وإذا طهرت النفساء قبل 40 فإنها تغتسل وتصلي. And if the postpartum bleeding woman was to become pure or clean before the 40 days, then it is upon her to bathe and to pray.
نعم. Nufasa is just the plural of this is the plural of the women who have this, right? And the Sheikh, he brings this point because many women believe that even if they become pure before the 40 days, that they still don't pray until after 40 days, right? They still don't pray or fast until after 40 days. What the Sheikh is saying here, no. With the taharat nufasa, and if these women become pure, قبل الأربعين, before 40, فإنها تغتسل وتصلي. Right? She might not fast because if she has postpartum bleeding, she's probably breastfeeding still, but she definitely has to pray, right? طيب. الفصل 20.
Yeah. One second. Is it possible to just drop it down a little bit?
Okay.
That's not again. أي التيمم للمسافر ولغير المسافر. So the tayammum is for the traveler and other than the traveler. So the resident. وتيمم يكون بماء على وجه الأرض ولا يشترط أن يكون ترابا. And tayammum will be with what is on the surface of the earth, and it's not a condition that it be dust.
Or
وصفة
dirt.
or
Not
dirt, yeah.
conditioned to be dirt, right? Meaning it can be dust, right?
Yeah.
Whatever's on the earth, right? وَالتَّيَمُّمْ يَكُونُ بِمَا عَلَى وَجْهِ الْأَرْضِ, whatever's on the surface of the earth. وَلَا يُشْتَرِطُ أَنْ يَكُونُ تُرَابًا, doesn't mean it has to go be dirt. Just whatever, it could be dust.
نعم. وصفة التيمم
It could be
ضربة
some,
واحدة للوجه والكفين. And the description of the tayammum is to beat or strike once
No.
the face and the two palms.
Now, one strike, meaning you strike the earth once, right? For the face and the palms, right?
Okay.
1 second. Masao, you wanted to say something?
yeah. When you said everything in earth, I was asking if stone also is valid. You can do tayammum on stones?
Yeah, whatever. I mean, that's part of the earth. Yes, if you're where stones are, if there's some dirt or dust on the stones, then you can take that from there and do so. Yes.
Okay.
And just adding to that, أخي Abu Muawiyah, I think some people take it as a actually specifically take stones and to a masjid, and they use that specifically. So I don't know if that's going into a bid'ah or whatever, but they actually specify using only stones. I've seen that in the Middle East. I know that where they'll only take a stone and they won't strike the earth, but just specifically a stone. So I don't know if that falls into a bid'ah.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. So with stone also you have to strike like you do like a dust. If you have one stone, you strike or you just wipe the stone with your hands.
Yes. I mean, yes. If for example, many people say take your wall, unless you clean your walls often, your walls might have a thin layer of dust.
Okay.
And so someone might say just take it and strike the wall or strike the earth, strike the ground.
Okay. Jazakallah.
No. And it's one hit, one strike on the ground for the hands in the face. Now the sheikh, he doesn't say it here. But some people say once you strike the ground, once you hit the ground, that you hit your hands together. That way you're not like wiping dirt on your face. You understand? So you're not gonna be having a lot of dirt, and you don't have water, so it's not mud. You understand? So it's just dry. It's just dry. You're not really wiping a thick layer of dirt on you. So طيب ويصلي ما شاء
ويصلي ما شاء بتيمم كالوضوء, and he prays whatever he wishes with the tayammum like wudu. وإذا وجد الماء وهو في الصلاة أو رفع الحرج واستطاع الوضوء فيتم صلاته ولا يعيد ولا يخرج منها. So if the person finds water and while he's in prayer, or the reason or the difficulties being lifted from him, and he's able to make wudu, then he completes his salah, and he does not repeat the salah, and he does not leave it.
No. So this is also different to many madhahib. I know some of the beginner fiqh books like Aksar Mukhtasarat and stuff like this in fiqh, they'll say if you find water, if for example you're praying with tayammum, there's no water, or there was only enough for you to drink, and if you used it for wudu you would die, so therefore you don't use it, or you're scared of using it due to cold or injury or something like this, as we'll see, and then that excuse is lifted. A big tank of water comes in. They say your salah is batil. You leave salah and you go make wudu. The sheikh here saying no. Yusalli ma sha'a bitayammum kal wudu. You pray what you want, just like wudu. So you don't have to make tayammum for every salah. If you made tayammum and you still haven't found water by the next salah, then you can still pray with that same tayammum if you haven't broken wudu. If you haven't broken the tayammum. Versus some people say, no, you need to make tayammum for every salah. Here he's saying no, it's like kel wudu. It's just like wudu. And if water is found and you're in salah, or rufi al-haraj, meaning whatever reason you could not make wudu. So for example, it was freezing cold, and then in the middle of salah, for some reason, all of a sudden, the sun comes out and it's beaming and it's hot, whatever the case. Or there was, you had some type of injury that was preventing you, but then in the salat that blood stopped or whatever the case might be, right? Then you can keep praying. Others would say no, that reason is gone. Your tayammum, the reason for your tayammum is gone as well, so you have to go make wudu. Right? وَاسْتَطَاعَ الْوُضُوء فَيُتِمُّ صَلَاتُهُ. So the Sheikh is saying, even if you're able to make wudu, but you're in salat, then the person finishes salat and he does not repeat that salat. Some people say, okay, finish it, but he has to repeat it. وَلَا يَخْرُجُ مِنْهَا. And you do not leave from that salat. You do not leave. وَإِنْ وَجَدَ الْمَاءَ.
نعم. وإن وجد الماء بعد الصلاة فلا إعادة عليه. So if he finds water after the salah, then he does not need to repeat the prayer. ولا يعتبر فاقدا للماء إلا إن بحث عنه. And
No.
yeah, so
No, go ahead.
and it's not considered that the person's that he's lost water or he can't find water, except
Right.
that if he searches for it.
No. So likewise, وَإِنْ وَجَدَ الْمَاءَ بَعْدَ الصَّلَاةِ فَلَا إِعَادَةَ عَلَيْهِ. So some people would say, okay, he made salat, but then he found water soon afterwards, then he has to repeat the prayer. Sheikh saying no. Also, a person وَلَا يُعْتَبَرُ فَاقِدًا لِلْمَاءِ. A person is not considered someone who is missing water, someone who is not able to find water, except if he searches for it. Meaning, you can't be in the middle of the desert and say, oh, there's no water here. No, you need to go over this hill and that hill and this hill and that hill, and you need to look for it. You need to look for it. You can't say there isn't any without looking. If you're in the middle of a city and you think the water's shut off, maybe not everybody's water is shut off. Maybe, okay, all the stores were out of bottled water, but maybe not every store. You have to actually look. And if you haven't looked, then, for example, I know one brother. Our city in America is St. Louis. We live right next to the Mississippi River, one of the biggest rivers in the world. But it's brown and it stinks, and there's fish floating on the top of it. And if you look at it, you say, man, I'm not drinking that water. Not until it goes through some plant, and becomes clean. I'm not drinking that water. So one brother, he was on a like a fishing trip or a barbecue or something like this, and the people were on the river. I guess it was a family outing or something, and it came time for prayer, and there was no bottle of water there, and so he just made tayammum. He didn't get in his car and drive 15 minutes down the road to find water. He didn't put any effort forth to go to ask the neighbors next door if they had a bottle of water. He just made tayammum. This is not correct.
Okay.
Right? وَيَتَيَمَّمُ
ويتيمم الجنب مكان الغسل بسبب الجروحات وعند الخوف من البرد. So the person who is in major impurity, he might he can perform tayammum in the place of ghusl when he is, for example, he has wounds, or if he fears being cold,
right.
feels the cold.
Right. So all the other examples up above is basically he talked about wudu. Here he talked about ghusl for someone who needs a ghusl for major impurity. وَيَتَيَمَّمُ الْجُنُبُ. The sexually impure person makes tayammum makan al-ghusl, in place of the ritual bath, بسبب الجروحات, because of wounds or injuries, وعند الخوف من البرد, or if he has fear of the cold. طيب.
Ustaz, I have one question.
تفضل.
It's regarding timing. I was once in a plane, and I have a wet dream in the plane. But in the plane,
Yeah.
they have water. If you want to do wudu, you can make wudu in plane, but you cannot do wusul. So you cannot do tayammum if there's water. So I was I was really confused what to do. But in that case, I just do wudu, and I'm still thinking about if I did the things right or not. You understand my question?
Yeah, I understand. I would say if it wasn't for Salatul Fajr, then just wait until, I mean, unless the plane is going to, if it's at the time of Dhuhr, for example, then you can join Dhuhr and Asr and wait till you land. Hopefully it's Asr time and you can do it. Or if it's Maghrib and Isha time, you can wait till Isha time and land. If one of those times is going to go out, Fajr is going to go out, or Dhuhr and Asr are going to go out, or Maghrib and Isha are going to go out because of the length of the plane ride, then Allah knows best. But I'll ask, inshallah. That's a good question. That's a real good question. So how do you take a bath in that situation? A bathroom, an airplane bathroom would be very difficult to take a ghusl.
Yeah.
Even if you did the sunnah ghusl of a sa' of water and you just wiped yourself down, and it'd be very difficult. So Allah knows best. I'm going to ask, inshallah. That's a good question.
Thank you.
طيب طيب طيب. We finished with that. Kitab al-Taharah. MashaAllah. There should be a party or something for finishing that. Let's go. Kitab al-Salat. Tafaddal.
طيب. أنا الصلاة أحد الأركان الخمسة. So Salah is one of the 5 pillars. وأول ما فرضت 50. And it's the first that is obligated 50 on the 50th, or what would that be?
خمس أول ما فرضت 50. At first, when it was first made obligatory, it was 50 prayers.
Okay, 50. Okay, yeah, 50 prayers. ثم جعلت 5. Then it was made 5. وأول ما فرضت ركعتين إلى المغرب. And the first of what was obligated was 2 rakahs till Maghrib. So is that 2 and 2, 4 rakah, or what does that mean?
وأول ما فرضت ركعتين. Everything, all the prayers in the beginning were made 2 rak'ah إلا المغرب, except for Maghrib.
Okay.
Not until, but except. So Fajr was made 2 rak'ah, Dhuhr was 2 rak'ah, Asr was 2 rak'ah, Maghrib was 3, and Isha was 2. In the beginning of the obligation of Salah, it was made just 2 rak'ah, except for Maghrib.
Yeah. ثم زيدت في الظهر والعصر والعشاء إلا الصبح. Then they were increased for Dhuhr, Asr, and Isha, except for Fajr. وتركت على ما هي عليه في السفر. And they تركت, and they were left, the Salah was, the form was left upon what it is in travel, meaning you can shorten them. Is that what is meant?
نعم. ثم زيدت في الظهر والعصر والعشاء إلا الصبح. So then the prayers that were 2 rakat were increased, meaning Dhuhr, Asr, and Isha, they were increased, except for Subh, meaning it stayed the same. Fajr stayed the same. وَتُرِكَتْ عَلَى مَا هِيَ عَلَيْهِ فِي السَّفَرِ. And they were left as they were during travel, meaning as 2. So it's not necessarily that you're shortening the prayer, although that's what you're doing, but you're also going back to the origin of the matter, which was 2 and 2 and 2. Except Maghrib, it remains 3.
No. وهي أول ما يحاسب عليه العبد يوم القيامة. And that's the first thing that the slave will be held account for on the day of judgment. فبصلاحها يصله العمل. And with the correctness of his prayer, his actions will also be corrected or correct. وبفسادها يفسد العمل. And with the corruption of the prayer, his actions will all be corrupt or corrupted. وهي تكفر الذنوب. And the prayer, it expiates the sins.
No. هي تكفر تكفر كسر on the fat.
تكفر.
وهي أول ما يحاسب عليه العبد يوم القيامة. It's the first thing that the person is going to be asked about on a day of judgment. فبصلاحها يصلح العمل. So if they're correct, then all of his actions will be correct. وبفسادها يفسد العمل. And if the salat is corrupted, then his actions, the rest of his actions will be corrupted. وهي تكفر الذنوب. And the salat, it expiates the sins. It wipes out the sins.
Ustaz,
تفضل.
Ustaz, I want to ask one question on the first line. Can you come back? First line, inshallah.
Okay.
Here is written وأول ما فرضت 50. 50 is I was wondering if people did pray 50 before. No, just
No.
in the Isra Miraj.
That's just Irad and Miraj. The Prophet ﷺ, by the
Okay.
time he came back down to the earth, it had been reduced to 5.
Okay. No, okay.
No,
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
no problem.
Okay.
وتجب على كل مسلم.
وتجب على كل مسلم بالغ عاقل. So it's obligatory upon every Muslim that has reached the age of discernment and has the sound, his intellect intact. ولا تجب على صبي حتى يبلغ. So it's not obligatory upon the young child until he reaches discernment. ولا
No,
على
until he reaches puberty. Discernment could be before that. Allahu alam, discernment is tamyiz. Allahu alam.
Yeah. So above 10
Tamyiz
puberty.
is the age when he's able to tell right from wrong, and that could differ from one kid to another, and it could be 4, 5, 6, 7, like this, right? Whereas bulugh is puberty.
ولا على النائم حتى يستيقظ. And it's not obligatory upon this one who's sleeping until he wakes up. ولا على المجنون حتى يعقل. And not upon the one who's lost his intellect or mentally ill until he regains his intellect.
No, the insane person, something like this, right? So here he goes and he basically starts to tell us about the shurut of the salat, right? وَيَجِبَ عَلَى كُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ بَالِغٍ عَاقِلٍ. You got to be a Muslim. You got to be in puberty, and you have to have your intellect. So if you're not a Muslim, salat is not obligatory upon you, right? Or it's not accepted from you. And there's the scholars talk about this issue. Are the kuffar held responsible for the actions of Islam? And they say yes, because they're supposed to be Muslims. So they will be punished for not praying, and they will be punished for not fasting. And so in Ramadan, you don't give a non-Muslim food, and you don't allow them to eat during the month of Ramadan, because then you'll be helping them to be sinning, right? Even though it's not accepted from them if they do it, unless they're Muslims. Balighin, aqilin. So the sabi, hatta yablugh, the na'im, hatta yastayqidh, wal majnoon, hatta yaqil. Tayyib. This next section is quite long. Do you guys want to do it, or you want to wait till tomorrow?
I'm fine doing it.
It's like 3 full pages, but let's go.
لا تجوز الصلاة قبل دخول وقتها. So it's not permissible to pray before its time enters. وتقدر المواقيت في البلدان التي يطول ليلها أو نهارها. And the times are estimated in the lands where the night is very long and the day is very long, or the day is very long.
It let's just correct that for not to correct it necessarily. Let's clarify that and make that to say basically where the day is all day and night, and the night is all day and night, like places where the sun does not rise or set for 6 months. Other than that, just like Ramadan, which we covered before Ramadan, and we'll read it again, inshallah, when Saum comes. If a person lives in a place where the hours are 22, say 22 hours of daytime and 2 hours of nighttime, then he would spread the prayer out in his proper time with the shadows and so on and so forth, right? Just like he would with fasting. He would still fast those days, right? He would still fast those days. So the prayer time, then he would still pray the prayer at his proper time. But if there is no day and night, it's only one or the other, then you would estimate those times like you do for fasting.
بارك الله فيك.
Fiqh Mubarak.
ووقت الصلاة الفجر من حين يطلع الفجر الصادق. So the time of Fajr comes in when the sun rises. And that is the true Fajr. Yeah, that's
Naam.
yeah. وآخر وقتها بطلوع الشمس. And the last of its time is when the sun rises. Sunrise. ومن أدرك من الصبح ركعة قبل أن تطلع الشمس فقد أدرك الصلاة. So whoever basically gets or catches the morning prayer, or one rak'ah of the morning prayer before the sun rises, then indeed he has caught the salah.
No. And catching the rak'ah is by catching the ruku', right? So whoever made ruku', right, of the second rak'ah, he joined the prayer, or he made one ruku' before the rising of the sun, then he has caught the prayer inside his proper time. Even though he's going to pray the rest of the prayer outside his proper time, because he's going to continue his prayer, he still caught the prayer inside his proper time by catching that rak'ah.
ووقت صلاة الظهر يبدأ حيث تزول الشمس. And the time of Salat al-Zuhr, it begins when the sun is at its zenith, I think. Yeah.
After it passes the zenith. The zenith is directly in the middle. When it comes down from that, Tazul, when it starts to come down from the zenith, right?
Yeah. وآخر وقتها حين يدخل وقت العصر. And the last of its time, or the ending of it, is when Asr comes in. ويستحب تأخيرها في الحر. And it's liked to delay the Zohr when it is very hot.
No.
ووقت صلاة العصر حين يصير الظل كل شيء مثله. And the time of Asr is when the shadow of everything is equal to the object.
No. Unlike the Hanafis who say twice the object, and so they pray an hour after the other masajid, right?
Yeah. وآخر وقتها حين يسقط قرنها. And the last of its time is when it doesn't mean that the horn. Is it here mean that the sun it's basically setting, or the disk?
Yeah, when the disc is, yes.
Yeah, it says here. وهي الصلاة الوسطى, and it is the middle prayer. ومن تركها حبط عمله. And then whoever leaves this prayer, then his deeds are, what do you say, habita, like
wiped out, made null and void.
null and void.
Yeah. His deeds are wiped out or made null and void. They're
وأول وقت الصلاة المغرب حين تغرب الشمس. On the beginning of the time of Maghrib is when the sun sets. وآخر وقتها حين يغيب الشفق الأحمر. And then the last of the time of Maghrib is when the is it like the redness in the sky? How do you say shafaq?
basically the redness of the sky goes away.
Yeah, it goes.
Yaghibu. It disappears.
ويستحب المبادرة إلى صلاة المغرب والتعجيل بها قبل اشتباق نجوم. So it's like to hurry or rush to pray the Salah Maghrib and to delay. Is it
No,
no,
to rush it.
to rush it, sorry, before
No.
اشتباق. What's that? اشتباق. The طلوع
تعجيل
الصلاة.
قبل اشتباك النجوم. Ishtibak meaning the appearance or the
Yeah.
coming out of the stars where they become very, very noticeable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's recommended yustahabbu al-mubadaratu ila salat al-maghrib, to rush to perform maghrib with ta'jilu biha, and to race or to hurry to perform it before the coming out and the clarity of the stars being there. Because you might see some stars right away, but when they all come out and they start to, maybe you see the North Star, maybe you see this star, that star, but by the time they all come out and they become like intermingled with one another, and you just can't necessarily tell them all apart, then you should do so before that.
وأول وقت صلاة العشاء حين يغيب الشفق الأحمر. And the first of the time of Isha is when the red hue or color goes away
No.
from the sky. Yeah. وآخر وقتها إلى نصف الليل. And the last of the time is midnight.
It doesn't mean 12 a.m. It means midnight. Right?
Yeah, a lot of people think it's 12.
It means midnight. And the ulama differ. I'm not sure Sheikh al-Albani's position on this, although that's a good question for us to look up since we're studying this book. But the people differ over, is the night start from Maghrib or does it start from Isha? Right? And so you would take basically what I understand, the time of Maghrib, from the time of Maghrib until the time of Fajr. How many hours is that? Half of that is when Isha is over. If you use Isha as the nighttime, then from the time when Isha enters until the Fajr enters, that's the length of the night, and you would cut that in half. But my understanding is that Maghrib is the correct way to do so, since that's the night. But let's see with Sheikh al-Albani. Let's look that up from the Sheikh, inshallah. Tomorrow I'll try to have it.
Ustaz, and here you tashabbu takhiruha ila sulusul layl. This I was wondering if this doesn't contradict one hadith which said its prayers is better to do it at earlier time. I don't remember exactly the hadith.
Yeah,
But
في وقتها الصلاة في وقتها.
yeah,
The salat in its time. However, there are exceptions to this. You know what I mean? Such as dhuhr when it's hot, and salat al-isha. The Prophet ﷺ, he used to come out, and he used to wait for the people. If the people had gathered up, then he would pray early, and if the people wouldn't gather yet, then he would wait for them to gather, and then he would pray late. And he said, if it was up to me, then I would make the salat at this time. If it weren't to place a hardship on my ummah, I'd make the salat at this time all the time, meaning later on.
Yeah.
Right? So for most prayers, it's earlier. But for Isha, if it's permissible, if you're the imam, you're not placing a hardship on the people, then you do it. The best time for it is thuluth al-layl.
Okay. Jazakallah khair.
Yeah,
And-
ويستحب
and-
تأخيرها إلى الثلث الليلي.
Mhm.
Yeah, is that the first third or the last third when you say ثلث الليل?
The first third.
Yeah.
Because the last third is prohibited according to him, because it only goes up to nisful layl, right?
Yeah. So the first third of the night is preferred to pray in the to delay it to the first part of the night. Yeah. ويكره تسميتها بصلاة الأتمة. And it's disliked to what is that? Name it.
To call that salat, yes, to call that salat salatul atama. That's one of the names that it used to be called. I don't know why it's disliked here. I'd have to go. I didn't look this up from the sheikh, but that's one of the prayers. Like a lot of the prayers had different names than the 5 names. Like Fajr has subh, right? A lot of times that means the people, when they talk about the different prayers, they have different names. I'm not sure why he says this here, but inshallah we'll try to look it up, inshallah.
Ustaz, I know from reading this section, it look like the Maghrib time stop just before Isha time. Is it correct?
They touch. They touch, meaning
Okay.
Salatul Maghrib, he says, حين وآخر وقتها حين يغيب الشفق الأحمر. And the last of its time is when the red glow or red hue goes away, right? Or disappears. وأول وقت صلاة العشاء حين يغيب الشفق الأحمر. And the first salat is when this happens. The first of Salat al-Isha is when this happens. So they touch.
Okay. So yeah, I'm asking this because if you see the applications for Salah, usually Isha comes like 1 hour before after Maghrib, and if you look at the sky, the redness usually goes after 30 minutes. But in the application, the Isha time just comes.
But the redness is gone, and Allah knows best due to pollution, light pollution.
Oh, okay.
Because we live in a place where there are street lights and building lights and house lights and car lights and all of this, then we don't get to see the sky as it really is. If you think about it, the earth, the sun and the moon are going around the earth, and or however you want to look at it, however you want to say it.
That's the proper belief, yeah.
That the time between Fajr and Shuruq is the same time between Maghrib and Isha. Roughly. Not if this is 1 hour and 12 minutes, this is 1 hour and 12 minutes, but they're going to be close. It's not as some people think that it's only 20 minutes long or 25 minutes long or something. If it's only 25 minutes long, then how come they wait a whole hour for Isha? You see what I'm saying? The time goes all the way up until Isha time. However, the best time is its earlier time, and we're not able to see the sky as it really is. Just like we don't really see al-Fajr as-Sadiq, we don't see the true Fajr. Likewise, because of tall buildings and because of light pollution. But if we were in a place where, if we were in the Sahara, if we were in the desert without light pollution, then we would see that Maghrib actually lasts longer than it seems to last in the cities because we don't have the lights blocking that from us. And Allah knows best.
Allah Mubarak. I never thought like that. Alhamdulillah, ask that question. Jazakallah khair. Thank you.
ومن أدرك ركعة من صلاة قبل خروج وقتها فقد أدرك صلاة في الوقت وعليه أن يتمها. So whoever catches a rak'ah before before the time of the salah has come to an end, then indeed he has called that salah, and it is upon him to complete it.
No, he's caught it in his proper time, right? And it's upon him to complete it.
ومن أخرج ومن أخرج صلاة عن وقتها متعمدا غير قاصد للجمع فلا يشرع له قضاؤها إلا إن كان ناسيا أو نائما. Or whoever basically takes the salah out from its time intentionally, without intending to join, then it's not legislated or not permissible for him to
legislated, not
legislated for him to make up that salah, except if he forgot or if he was sleeping.
no. So whoever missed the prayer, whoever did not pray a prayer inside its proper time on purpose, and he was not intending to make jam bain al-dhuhr wa asr or maghrib and isha, he just said, I'm not going to pray right now, I'm going to pray it later outside of its proper time. فَلَا يُشْرَعُ لَهُ قَضَاؤُهَا. Then it's not legislated for him to make up that prayer. Right? إِلَّا إِنْ كَانَ نَاسِيًا أَوْ نَائِمًا, except if he was forgetful or sleeping. And then that's not muta'ammidan anymore. Right? But if a person does not pray a prayer in its time, then he is not to make up that prayer.
Yeah,
He's
like
not to make
here,
up.
Here in the before in the UK when I used to be working, a lot of people would not pray their prayer intentionally during the work time or school time, and then say, "Oh yeah, we make it up." Now they are having in the UK, they're having an argument about that, about children not they're telling children to make up the prayer when they get home. Yeah,
Well, I would say this, and Allah knows best. They intend at night to make jam between all their prayers. So trying to be merciful, even though they're doing it incorrectly and it's not permissible to do what they're doing. Their intention here is to not pray. Their intention is to make them up, all of them at nighttime or something, when they get home in a place where they're not, having their back to the disbelievers and they're not open and subjected to the disbelievers' ridicule or, whatever. Then they intend to make a jam. They intend to make it. However, this jam that they're making when they gather between 4 prayers at a time, then this is not permissible. However, hopefully, hopefully it will be accepted from him, man. Hopefully, inshallah. The Sheikh, he says here that this is the madhab of, or he says, this is due to the Prophet ﷺ saying, "Man fatathu salatul asr fa ka'annama watara ahlahu wa malahu." So whoever missed salatul asr, then it is like he has lost his whole family and his wealth. فما فات لا سبيل إلى إدراكه البتة. So there's no way for him to ever make up this prayer or to reach this prayer again. ولو أمكن أن يدرك لما سمي فائتا. And if he was able to make it up, or if he's able to catch that prayer, then he wouldn't be called someone who missed it or lost it. Right? He wouldn't be called something who lost it. And this is what Ibn al-Qayyim says.
Okay.
And Umar ibn al-Khattab, he used to hold this position as well, that whoever missed the salat on purpose without intending to do a jam, he wasn't forgetful, he wasn't sleeping, then he does not make it up. Umar ibn al-Khattab, as his son Abdullah, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, Salman al-Farisi, Ibn Mas'ud, Qasim ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, Budayl al-Aqali, and Muhammad ibn Sirin, and Hassan al-Basri, and Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. All of them said that whoever left the salah intentionally, he does not make up that salah.
Wow.
And he says that we don't know anyone from the Sahaba who said other than this.
Hmm.
Right?
ومن
And it
كان
goes, the speech goes on, but I'll stop there. وَمَنْ كَانَ تَارِكًا لِلصَّلَاةِ
ومن كان تاركا للصلاة وتاب فلا يجب عليه قضاء ما فاته من الصلوات. So whoever leaves the salah and then he repents, then it's not upon him to make up what he missed from the prayers. ولا تقضى
No.
الصلاة عن ميت الذي كان لا يصلي. And prayer is not to be made up for the deceased who did not used to pray.
No. So if a person left salah intentionally, right, but he repented, then he does not make up that prayer, just like we said muta'ammidan above, right? So whoever missed a prayer from the prayers, okay, and a person who died and he wasn't praying, then someone on his behalf, his children or those people who inherit from him and so on, they do not make up the prayer on his behalf. Right? They do not make up the prayer. We're going to read just the next paragraph because it still has to do with qada, and then we'll leave the next two paragraphs of this same section for tomorrow, just because of how long it's been, and we want the people to be able to benefit without being bored. Not just you guys. You guys are the one putting in the effort, but there are some people who listen later on. It would be nice if someone would go through and put timestamps when we get to different sections, like Fasl Awal, Fasl Thani, Fasl Thalith. This is this time, this is this time, this is this time. And that way, if someone were to do that and put it in the comment section of the video on YouTube, then I can put that in the description of the video and it would divide the video up into chapters automatically for the people. If someone's able to do that, good. If not, then we'll just leave it as it is.
Okay.
ولا قضاء
ولا قضاء للصلاة على المجنون إذا برئ. So there's no making up of salah for the insane person if he becomes better or if he's cured. ولا قضاء للصلاة على المغمى عليه ولا قضاء للصلاة على الكافر إذا أسلم. And there's no making of salah for the one who faints or loses consciousness.
Yeah, someone who was unconscious in a coma like this.
And there's no making of salah for the disbeliever when he becomes Muslim. ومن فاته
Yeah, I know one brother. He accepted Islam when he was around 40 years old. He was with Jamaat al-Tabligh. He was with the Tabligh Jamaat group, and he didn't understand this. He claimed to be part of the Hanafi madhab, and he never claimed to be knowledgeable, but he was truly someone who loved to worship Allah. I'll say this about him. He was ignorant. He was jahil, but he was rahimahullah, he passed away, I think, last year. He was truly ignorant and jahil, but he's someone who loved to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. This person, when the rain was reaching up to the windows of the cars, he was driving to the masjid. He didn't care if the water was coming in his car because it is obligatory to go to the masjid to pray. And he made up for all of his prayers that he missed from the time when he wasn't a Muslim. And it took him like 23 years or something.
Wow, subhanallah.
But he would make up his prayers. Here the Sheikh says, وَلَا قَضَاءَ لِلصَّلَاةِ عَلَى الْكَافِرِ إِذَا أَسْلَمَ. There's no making up of the prayers for the one who accepted Islam.
ومن فاته عدة الصلوات ناسيا فيصليها على ترتيب ثم يصلي الحاضر. So whoever misses a number of prayers, forgetfully, then is upon him to pray them in order, then pray the prayer that the current prayer that he needs to pray.
No. So whoever missed a number of prayers forgetfully, like in a battle or something like this, right? Then he prays them in order. And this is probably something, the people who want to make all their prayers up when they get home from work, they probably use rulings like this and just intermingle and interchange the issues. Well, in this issue, you're supposed to do it like this, so I'm going to do it like this. No, that's not correct. Anyway, then they make them up. They make them up in order, and then you pray the one which is in. So this, of course, the madhahib have discussions on this, and they talk about, well, what if, for example, what if I missed Asr or Dhuhr and Asr, and Maghrib is about to go out. If I make Dhuhr and Asr, Maghrib will be over. So then I'm going to have to make up Maghrib too. I'm not saying this is the Sheikh's position. I don't even know if we access the footnote here, would he mention it? But the issue is, if Maghrib is about to go out, then make Maghrib first and then make up Dhuhr and Asr. And then by that time, Isha will be in and you can make Isha, right? So don't make yourself miss more than you have to miss. And Allah knows best. We'll stop here because the Sheikh goes into a few more things about like Salatul Nafila, and it's another page or so to go. So we'll stop here, keep it right around an hour, and we'll pick up tomorrow, bi'idhnillah. But before I go, then I asked this question that was asked to that Brother Masao asked. What salat was it that you were missing on the plane, Masao?
That was Fajr. Salatul Fajr.
Okay. One sheikh asked what salat was it. I said Salatul Fajr just now.
Jazakallah khair.
The Sheikh Zakia Saoub, who we had Thalathatul Usul with yesterday. If you guys don't know about the Masjid channel in St. Louis, then Grand Islamic Center on YouTube. And sometimes I promote their videos on the community section on my channel. That's the masjid where I'm from in St. Louis. Then every weekend, we try to, on every Yom Sabt, every Yom Ahad, every Saturday and Sunday, we try to have lectures with the Mashayikh translated in English. So yesterday, Sheikh Zakia Saoub was there, and he just answered just now. He said, make tayammum. Sheikh Fad al-Fuhaid, he said, in kana waqt as-salat سيخرج قبل نزوله يغسل ما يستطيع مثل الوضوء ويتيمم عن الباقي ويصلي. So if it was the time for salat and is going to go out before he lands, then he should wash what he's able to do, like in wudu, and he makes tayammum for the rest of it, and he prays.
Okay.
So we're going to find a number of madhahib here, right? We're going to find a number. One second, we have Sheikh Asim Qaryuti. He answered in a voice.
الله يحفظك وبعدين إذا وصل ونزل يغتسل يتيمم ويصلي حتى لا يضيع الصلوات. وإذا وصل ونزل فيما بعد يصلي الصلوات المستقبلة اللي راحت لكن يغتسل ويصلي الصلوات القادمة.
So he says make tayammum, and when you land, make the ghusl, right? But make tayammum. So this is even Sheikh Fad, he's different. He said make wudu and then make tayammum for the rest of it. And the rest of them said just make tayammum. I would incline to this because I don't know the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam ever told us to do join between wudu and tayammum, although this is a famous fiqh issue that people fall into. So anyway, there's 3 answers for you, and if anyone else gets back to me, I have homework. Why did the sheikh say it was makruh for Salatul Atama? And when does the night enter according to the sheikh? Does it enter with Maghrib or Isha? So we know what Nisful Layl is according to him.
Jazakallah. Thank you very much for
You're welcome.
asking.
Inshallah.
Thank you very much.
We'll pick up here tomorrow. Jazakallah khair. I'm glad you're back, Abu Muhammad. Glad everything's good. We'll see everybody. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.